Moving on to the other half of the old firm at Rangers, there's been loads of change as of late. Sporting director Ross Wilson leaving, Douglas Park, the chairman, leaving, and then now yesterday, academy director Craig Mulholland leaving the club, as well as director of finance Andrew Dixon leaving today. We can read a statement from Craig Mulholland, the departing academy director, that will be on screen for you just now. It reads, "I have loved my 20 years working at the club that I had grown up with, and in particular the last 8 leading our academy, B team and women's teams. However, in all leadership positions, sometimes knowing when the right time to move on is as important as deciding which opportunities to take. My successor will inherit some fantastic people working passionately to deliver on a clear strategic vision underpinned by strong processes and modern innovative methodology. They will also inherit some outstanding young talents which will lead to an exciting future for the club and the academy over the next few years. I'm immensely proud of all we have achieved, and I would like to thank John, Stuart, James and all of the current and previous board members for their fantastic support, and wish Michael and his staff the very best for the future. Above all, I would like to thank each and every one of the young players who drive our motivation and energy every single day." Ruffy, Andrew Dixon leaving, the director of finance, been at the club for 30 years. Craig Mulholland leaving, Stuart Robertson, Ross Wilson, Douglas Park. Seems to be a complete overhaul under John Bennett at Rangers. But why? Why do you think he's doing it?
I think like all clubs, need a change, and obviously they know more that's happening behind the scenes than we do. They're in the know, they have meetings day to day, and they'll decide that certain parts of the club have to move on, and that there comes a time when they have to say who's going to go and who's not going to go, and at this moment in time there seems to be a complete restructuring behind the scenes at Rangers. I'm sure the fans will be partially happy with that, because a lot of them are unhappy the way they think the club is going.
Do you think the fans influenced it with there was the
I don't think they influenced these two, but the other two they have most definitely influenced, to move on. So it's a restructuring, it'll be interesting to see. I think other things will come out in the next month, before the end of the season. I think there'll be people, maybe coming in, new investors, people coming into new positions. And the only worrying thing I've got for Rangers is Dave King seems to be still hovering about, with a large amount of shares, and I think everybody's waiting to see, what he's going to be doing with them. And you never know, there might be another consortium out there who might want to take or talk to the board, because we all keep talking about investment, we all keep talking about they need a lot of money, to challenge Celtic, so that might be the route they have to go down. So all these things that are happening behind the scenes are just, for me, look as if they're going in that direction. Yeah.
Would you agree, do you think that with all of these changes at the club, they're maybe prepping for a change of ownership soon?
Possibly. I don't think that a lot of Rangers fans will be disappointed with the changes. I think when you look at Rangers over the last 18 months, apart from the European run, it's not been good enough. So I think that the Rangers supporters will be happy that there's maybe fresh blood coming into the club, fresh set of eyes, whatever. I think in terms of Mulholland leaving, I think that Patterson, off the top of my head, is maybe the only one that we've sold for big money in the last 10 years.
Directly from the academy?
From the academy, I can't think of anyone.
Yeah, well, Gilmore went for a development fee.
Gilmore went, so I think if you're a Rangers supporter, you'd be expecting more. You'd be expecting more from a top-notch academy and a great setup, up at Murray Park. And listen, it's I just don't think there's enough young players coming through at Rangers, and they are starting to buy players from other clubs, which I always thought was weird, that they're buying people from Motherwell and Hibs and teams like that, and teams down south. So what does that tell you? Does that tell you that the guys that are bringing through are maybe not quite up to scratch? I don't know. So I can understand why there's been a change at that level, at the youth level at Rangers. So I do think change was needed at Rangers, and I don't think the Rangers fans will be disappointed that John Bennett seems to be clearing decks.
Yeah, just that point about the youth players coming through, there's not that many. Do you think now that Rangers are stuck to second, won't finish third, can't finish first unless something ridiculous happens? Alex Lowry, Adam Devine, Leon King, boys like that, do you think they should now get a chance in the final few games to prove their worth? Because there's a lot of players playing for Rangers just now who aren't going to be there next season, but these boys will, and they could be the future.
Yep, I think they've got. I think if Michael Beale really believes in them, I think he'll play them between now and the end of the season. If he doesn't, I don't think you'll see them at Rangers next year. Alex Lowry, Leon King, Devine, I think he's got to play them now. I think if he believes that they're going to be Rangers players going forward, I think he'll give them a few games before now at the end of the season, because as you said, there's nothing to lose really, and he's got to know if they can handle it. If they can handle playing 2 or 3 games, they can handle, you know, big expectant crowds at Ibrox. So I would play them. As I said, I think there'll be massive changes at Rangers in the summer. So if Michael Beale really believes that these 2 or 3 young boys are going to be good enough to play for Rangers, then I think he'll play them. If he doesn't play them now, between now and the end of the season, the same with the goalkeeper, is it McCrorie?
McCrorie,
if he doesn't play these guys between now and the end of the season, I don't see them having a future at Rangers.
Buffy, would you agree? Do you think?
Yeah, he has to see, well, particularly McCrorie. Yeah. You know, I think he does like what he sees in McCrorie at training. I know he was injured there for a wee while, but he has questioned, you know, is he going to step up and be a number 1 eventually? I think everybody thought he had it in him. You know, Alan McGregor thinks very highly of him as well, but you're not going to know unless, as Tom says, unless you throw him in. You know, and I now, in particular in him, I think the boy Devine will get a shout. Yeah, but from me, if Alan McGregor isn't signing another contract and he's going to go, I would have McCrorie in from this game right to the end of the season. You've got to see what he can do if he can handle it, and that's the only time you're going to see him.
There's lots of changes, we've discussed them already at boardroom level, on field, off field. Everywhere at Ibrox there'll be changes, but is it important to just still have a bit of continuity, because there is so many people leaving? Is that going to be important in this process of transition?
I think if you look at the 11, you know, I think we discussed it the other day, if you look at the 11, the core of that will still be there. You know, I think the 3 of the back 4 will still be there, the two new boys in midfield will still be there, and a couple of the boys for up front, you know, but that is, I would say, half the team, half the 11 will be there, you know. So, but the ones that are coming in need to be the ones that are going to fill these spaces. They can't be sitting on the bench. You know, you have to identify players who are going to go in and handle what it's like to play for Rangers and Celtic, because it's completely different, you know, if we're playing with Hibs and Hearts and, you know, these kind of teams in Aberdeen and that. The demands that are on you, and I don't care where these players are coming from in England, whoever they're playing with, Norwich or Swansea or whoever, they'll never ever experience what's going to happen to them when they pull on that red Rangers jersey. The pressure every week is colossal, that you've got to win every game, and so a lot of players can't handle that. You know, so you've got to identify players that you think will be able to do that as well as their ability.